Check the description for the following discount codes.
So I wanted to share my best triple screen settings for Dirt Rally. Apologies if my face isn't very well lit. The camera's set up to try and give you the best visual representation of what I'm seeing here. Some of you will know that Dirt Rally doesn't actually support triple screens. And by that, I mean it doesn't have true 3-channel output where you can adjust the image that you see for the size, the distance, and the angles of each of your 3 displays. The only way you can get it to fill 3 full screens like you see here is to simply set your desktop to be one big resolution using NVIDIA Surround or whatever you might have, your graphics card, and then going into your options within the game and choosing that resolution. I may as well just show you what mine's at, 7680 by 1440. Even though these are 4K displays, I run them at 1440p each because it means I can run the in-game graphics up really high, pretty much maxed out and anti-aliased, and get the best sort of visual fidelity I can. And it's still plenty sharp. So you can do it like that and that will fill your 3 screens. But the problem we've got is Dirt Rally doesn't know that the 2 side screens are angled at, I think mine are about 65 degrees. All it puts out is a flat image. Now, if you get any flat image or object and then you bend it at 2 particular points at 65 degrees, the image or the object bends with you. So if you've got a straight 1 meter ruler and you bent like I don't know, 30 centimeters of each end and bent them in, what was a straight line is no longer a straight line. It goes straight and then it bends. And this is what happens with our flat display image. So what you have on your side screens is not only straight lines that are now bent at whatever angles your monitors are at, they actually stretch and distort as they come further down the side screens as well, because of the way we're sat and the way the image is projected, so to speak. Now, with proper triple screen support, you put in your angles, your distances, that's all calculated, and the image is adjusted and displayed to correct for that distortion and that bend, and everything is geometrically correct. And it feels like you're sat in a cockpit of a car, at least display-wise. Now, Dirt doesn't do that. So what we're doing here is we're making the best of a bad situation. For me, your choices are run just your single screen in the middle and have your 2 side screens do nothing, but I guess that would be a bit pointless as the title of the video is my best triple screen settings, or optimize this bent flat display to be as best as it can be, and by that I mean as less distracting as possible. The problem with this bent image and distorted image, in fact we'll go into the actual game itself so you can see, is that it is very distracting. Now, this is what I've settled on as my best settings. I've got the field of view slider set to maximum wide as it will go. And the reason I've done that is because when I set it for, let's ignore the side monitors, set my field of view slider for the actual distance I am from this single screen, when I then added the side ones and changed the resolution to fill them all, it felt like I was too close, like too far in, so to speak. And as I'm driving along, the world just didn't feel right. It actually made me feel a bit motion sick. And I found the wider I made the field of view slider in the settings, the less shitty I felt, to be honest. And I ended up on the maximum width setting, which I suppose kind of makes sense because Dirt Rally sees this resolution as one big ultra wide, you might say. So you have got a wide field of view. And I guess that's maybe why it feels like the best place to be. So I've got that slider all the way across. In fact, I'll show you in the options. And that one is actually in the game settings options under preferences. It's not in the graphics settings. So here, camera field of view, narrow to wide. Now for my, if I just round one single 55 at this distance, I think I would actually be like 3 or 4 notches in on the slider. But like I say, once you go ultra wide, it just doesn't feel right. And so I've settled on maximum width there. The other thing that made me feel motion sick was having the camera shake on. I don't know why that is, and it did it whether I had my motion system running or not. I found turning the camera shake off was the right thing to do and made me feel less motion sick. And this isn't just me, by the way. I have 4 other people try this out, or 5 other people, sorry, and all of them, bar one, felt some form of motion sickness when we were using different settings and playing around. And even as it is now, my brother, who particularly suffers with motion sickness, if he looks at the side screens, because they are still warped and not correct, instantly makes him feel ill. And I'm borderline. So pretty much just looking forwards and using your side screens just to fill in the space that's there. I can't really focus on it. And there's not much to see in rally at the sides anyway. You haven't got cars coming around you and what have you. So, yeah, no shake, maximum width on the field of view, and running the resolution of like one big ultra wide panel is what I've got. Now, the other things you can adjust as far as view settings go are your sort of settings here, whether you want to be in the cockpit, slightly further back, obviously chase cam and what have you. In fact, I'm going to put the GoPro on now and just go through some of these, because I don't know whether you'll see quite well enough on this camera where things go horribly bent and distorted or not. So let me put this GoPro on and I'll use whichever footage looks the best. So let's have a look at your sort of cockpit camera that you would normally use would be, I suppose, this one really. We've got some up and down. So here's another problem, right? We've got height adjustment. This is as low as I can put my seat. And I'm sat with my eyes like level in the middle of my screen here, as I should be. And the dashboard is still way too low. My virtual seat needs to come lower. For some reason, this is as far as it will adjust. And the other problem with this view is that everything is just too far forward. And again, the seat is all the way forward. Look, I can make it come further backwards, and you can see my nicely distorted mirrors at the side there. But this is with the seat all the way forward and all the way down. But it still needs to go lower, and it still needs to go further forward. My A-pillars are miles away. And in fact, in this view, my other A-pillar here is actually like 90 degrees to the right of me. So there's one A-pillar kind of where it should be, and then the other A-pillar literally parallel with my face, because the dashboard and that part of the car has been bent round by 65 degrees. So obviously that's just a totally unusable view. Obviously we'll ignore the chase cams. Now I used to play a lot in like bumper view, you might call it, but again in this configuration I feel like I'm too close into the world, so to speak. And this is the one that I've settled on. There is the least amount of bending. You can just see down there at the corner my bonnet does bend around, but it's only, there's only a few inches visible, so you haven't got that distorting. And then what you see on the side screens, albeit it is bent, it's not so distracting that it's distracting, if you get what I mean. As I say, that when you're driving, if you do look at the side or try and look round a hairpin or something, it does make me feel ill because it is warped and it is distorted. But this is the best view that I've settled on. We've then got this one here where you're more forward in the cockpit, and it kind of feels like my head is out the windscreen in this view. And what you see here as well, this is obviously the bonnet line here. The bonnet then bends at 65 degrees, and this is still bonnet. Like literally you should be able to see my other camera and the end of my screen here. That is bonnet. Like, that's not side window or door, that is bonnet, literally 90 degrees to my right again. So this view again, big distortion, completely unusable in my opinion. Again, we've got the same, another cockpit one here, a little bit closer in this time. So that A-pillar looks a little better, but this one again is still completely at 90 degrees to my right where the bonnet has bent around. I hope this shows up, in the video footage here as well as I hope it does. But that's the problem we've got, because the monitors, effectively bend either side of the center position. Everything to the right and the left is completely, bent and warped and not where it should be. And even if it wasn't, like I say, this view here, you can't make the seat go low enough to get the proper view out the windscreen. and you can't make it go close enough, you know, to get, I guess what really needs to be done is it needs to be scaled up and brought closer, which is what you can do in games that properly support triple monitors. So that's why I've settled on this view here, and I suppose I may as well give you a quick demo of what it looks like in use, although it's not as easy to see. But let me just get my gloves on. If you don't look at the side screens, and it's much less distracting. Did I do a restart? Oh no, I've got to pull the handbrake. Yeah, it's much less distracting if you don't look at the sides. And just sort of keep yourself focused on the middle. Now, for this video, I will glance at the sides like that. It's not too bad because we're on a straight effectively. It's when you get to corners where it really goes wrong and it makes you feel ill, or at least it does, you know, for me and my friends that also seem to suffer with motion sickness. It's funny because some of them don't even get motion sickness normally, but I guess it's just how it sort of, the image warps your brain almost a little bit. But this is what I've settled on as the best solution. And I think it's about as good as we can get, realistically. You know, it's such a shame that Codemasters didn't implement proper triple monitor support. You know, it really bugs me now that I've got three really nice screens to use as well. And I have to sort of find this compromise of a display setup. As I say, it isn't too bad like this. You've just got to not look at the sides when going around corners. The only time that actually becomes an issue is if you're fully drifting round like a hairpin or a one left or something. You naturally go to look out of your side windows like you would do in real life. For those of us that have actually done drifting in real life, and you just can't do it because what you're seeing out the side is that forward-facing flat image bent round beside you. And it just totally throws you off and you know, like I say, triggers my motion sickness. So I just have to not do it. I have to pretend I've only got a single screen in front of me and just let my peripheral vision soak in what's going past me. I mean, it does give you a good feeling of speed at least, because you've got this scenery whizzing past, which is great. So it's still better, I would say, than running just the single screen in the middle, which is the other option. But yeah, that's what I've done. Maximum field of view in the game options, turn off the camera shake, and then use this sort of, I don't know, what, just above the bonnet type view, I suppose. And that seems to be my sweet spot. And of course the other ball ache is you can't use the real, the sort of dashboard that you would see if we're in a sim that does support triples. You'd have no need for like a tablet or a DigiDash here, because you'd actually see the one in the cockpit you're in. So you can't do that in this scenario. I have got my tablet down to the left there, so should I need to look at it for anything like my time to see how I'm doing, then I can. Some of you may remember when I ran a single screen, I actually had that sat here. But anyway, I'll just finish this stage out and that'll be the end of the video. So hopefully that might help a couple of people out in the same situation. If you've got smaller triple screens, yeah, this is a good point actually. If you've got smaller triple screens that are further away, so they're not going to be down the sides like mine are, this will be a bit less of an issue, because what you'll effectively have is more like, you know, an ultra wide display, and they won't be, the further your monitors are away, the less of an angle you run as well. So if they're smaller and further away, or even this big but further away, you won't get this as so much of a problem. So really, this is going to be for the sort of niche within a niche here, those of us that do have screens that run down beside our faces to give us that 180-degree field of view. We're the ones that really suffer with Codemasters not incorporating proper triple monitor support. But yeah, there we go. Maybe some of you will find it helpful. Maybe you won't. Who cares? Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and as always, take it easy.